Let's see. All right. I think we should be live now. Um, for anybody that's there, can you comment if you can see us, hear us? Make sure that, we are showing up on your feed there. I think we are.
Hey, everyone.
Awesome. So looks like we are ready and set to go. So, thank you everyone for joining us. This is our first episode. We have been talking about this for a little while, and we're so excited that it's finally happening. So, once a month, Joy and I are going to be right here diving into real conversations about career growth, sales, and stepping into roles that align with your skills and values. So, give us some grace since this is our first one as we try to juggle the comments, get everything set up. But we do want this to be interactive. So make sure if you have any comments, any questions, that you drop them in the comments below, and we'll get to as many as we can at the end. So we are really grateful for all of you that are joining, and I'm honored to introduce my co-host Joy, also known as Joy the Joyful Recruiter. She is the founder of the Joyful Talent Solutions, a sales and go-to-market recruiter who has helped countless of candidates land the right roles, and she is one of the most authentic voices on this platform. So I'm honored and excited to be sharing the stage with Joy today.
Thank you, Patty. And let me brag about you, my co-host, for a second. Patty's the founder of ISA Recruiting. She's led SDR teams, built enablement programs, hired hundreds of sales reps, and coached candidates on how to stand out and shine. Now, here's why we want to start this series with today's topic. I don't even like saying breaking into tech sales because that makes it sound like it's some exclusive or elitist club. Instead, I like to say entering into tech sales. I know it's semantics, but that's how I feel. So, tech sales can absolutely be a great path, but it's not the only path. That's why we're here, to go beyond tech sales. The truth is, there are so many opportunities outside of tech that people just don't know about. So these industries are hiring, they pay well, and they give you the training and foundation to grow long-term careers in sales. And so that's why it's so important for us to start this conversation today.
Yes, exactly. I love that, Joy, and I know it's a very important topic. I'm sure those of us in the audience are wondering, what are the specific industries where you have seen B2B sales talent thrive and also make a great living?
Yeah, great question. I will answer that, but I'm going to ask the audience. Please drop in the chat where you're tuning in from. Thank you. So yeah, to answer your question, Patty, let's start with telecommunications, like AT&T, Comcast, Spectrum. And let's be clear, I am not recommending door-to-door residential sales. We are not doing that. What I'm talking about is selling internet cable and phone services to businesses. So B2B sales.
Got it. Yeah. I'm curious if any of you guys in the audience as well come from telecommunications and have transitioned into a different industry or are in telecommunications now. Put it in the chat. We'd be curious to know. Another thing people don't think about when they think of telecommunications, because our mind does go to the door to door, is channel sales. And that's a really big part of telecommunications. And it's complex, it's enterprise level sales, because you're selling a solution to bigger businesses, right? But even if you are selling to those smaller SMBs, this is a great and strong training ground because you're learning great skills like resilience, perseverance, and how to manage different client types. I know you have a long, extensive recruiting background, Joy. So, do you see or have you seen telecom companies open to candidates who don't come from any sales backgrounds or are basically new to sales?
That is a very good question. Yes. And I would say, for example, people, if you've worked like, let's say, a big box retailer, think Best Buy or something similar, or the electronics department in, let's say, a Target, that those are, or also forgot to mention mobile sales. Those are definitely roles that can transition into telecommunications.
Okay, so that's great to know for people starting out that they don't just have to, go to the tech path, right? Like we've been talking about.
Mhm.
Um, that's great. Are there other industries that come to mind when you think of places where people can start out?
Absolutely. One that comes to mind that I worked in years ago, a lot of college grads and also non-college grads start in the staffing industry. So staffing is a great way to figure out if sales, recruiting, or both are right for you. Think companies like Aerotech, Insight Global, Robert Half, where you would sell staffing solutions.
Great. And is there anybody in the audience here that comes from recruiting? Um, I don't see anybody comment on here, but definitely comment where you're coming from, what industry and sector, so we can get an idea on who's out there because we want to make this as interactive as possible, like we mentioned. And I agree with you that recruiting is sales. I recently started a recruiting agency, so new to the sales world, and it is all sales, right? It's people driven sales. You're matching talent with opportunity, and those skills of being able to, find the opportunity within the people that you're talking to transfer into any other sales roles. For any recruiters that are out there, maybe you didn't realize, but those are that basically is B2B sales. You are selling, and you can transfer into another sales role or from sales into recruiting as a result. And any other industries, Joy, that you want to touch on?
Yes, absolutely. There are several. So this one is personal to me because I used to recruit for a well-known HR and payroll services company. So these companies, they're not just payroll. They sell full HR tech solutions. And I saw several people that I recruited use this as a launch pad into tech sales, and others have built long-term careers right at those companies. So uh, I'm thinking of ADP, Paychex, or Paycom, similar companies. Um, there might even be some people in the audience from ADP. So I would say those are great. Those are great companies to consider because a lot of people don't think about it.
Yeah, it seems like it's the perfect mix of, not full SaaS,
Mhm.
but, you're still getting that technology part into it while focusing on, people and B2B. And I've also seen it's one of the largest growing sales areas there. So, what kind of backgrounds do HR service companies tend to love, since that's something you've worked in before?
Hunters. Definitely hunters. So they will consider those with backgrounds in the staffing industry, telecommunications, and SaaS sales. It could be, for example, if you are selling some sort of hospitality platform, but they need you to be consultative. This is key because they are not looking for people who are transactional salespeople.
That's great, especially for a lot of people who want to actually build relationships, right? I think sometimes people always think sales and they build relationships, but there's many industries where you are not building relationships. So one call close and it's very quick. So this
Yeah.
is great to know for people who want that longer, term relationship that they're building. And then I know we have one more to share for the audience that may be a surprising one. You want to spill the beans, Joy?
Yeah, absolutely. So, one overlooked industry is facilities and hospitality services. So, these are companies like Airmark and Centos. They sell uniforms, facility management, hospitality solutions, and more. And this is a great starting point for a lot of salespeople.
Yeah, I think that it's one that gets definitely, like you mentioned, overlook. There's a low barrier to entry, so you don't have to have previous sales experience. If you join a boot camp and that's all the sales you've gotten, this can be a great place to start if you aren't really seeing a lot of traction trying to apply for those big SaaS companies. So, from somebody that does come from retail though, and they want to pivot into more of the tech sales later on, how would you, help them position that or show their experience?
So I would say many people enter the tech industry through sales boot camps, and there might even be some people in the audience who have been students or attended boot camps, and plenty of them succeed. But if you're still not landing that interview, don't overlook your experience. If you have experience in retail, hospitality, or you've worked as a server, this is valid experience, so don't sleep on those skills. You learn territory management, upselling, cross-selling, and account growth, skills you can carry almost anywhere into a sales role. So build a great sales career or take what you have learned to pivot to another industry. That would be my suggestion. So, Patty, I'm going to ask you a question. A lot of people worry that their background won't transfer. What do you usually tell them? Because you have been a hiring manager.
Yes, that's a great question. And I just put in the comments, if you want to know how to transfer your skills, give this comment a thumbs up because that's exactly what we're delving into right now. So if you're somebody that's struggling with that, make sure you get a pen and paper and it's time to take some good notes. The way to basically showcase those skills is to make it clear to the hiring managers that you can deliver results. A lot of times hiring managers take the easy route of just hiring somebody with industry experience because it means they know what they're doing, right? But people from other industries can show that they know what they're doing by the way that they reframe their resumes with numbers and specific metrics, right? So let's just say you come from a service background where you're, I don't know, a host, a bartender, your server, right? Instead of just saying, I helped customers or I served customers, you can focus on, I boosted dessert sales by 20% or increase, efficiency for seating by 10%, right? Whatever that is, putting it into metrics to show your actual impact. And then the other piece as well is being able to communicate those clear, measurable results in interviews. So, something I usually teach my clients is the what, how, why framework. Whenever you get a situational based question, you want to start with what is the accomplishment that you did very clearly. You want to explain the steps that you took and why the impact it had in the company goals. And when you're communicating in that short, concise, impactful way, you're setting yourself up for the role that you want as well. I know you also have done a lot of recruiting and hiring and helping people stand out as well, Joyce. So, what would you add for candidates trying to make a transition?
So, something you mentioned about metrics, definitely include that in your resume. uh Sales recruiters and hiring managers, they love seeing that information. But I would say network intentionally on LinkedIn, reach out to people in the roles that you are targeting. um Ask for a quick chat. Some people are very receptive to that, and also engage with their content. Not to say every single sales leader, every recruiter is a content creator, but if they have content, definitely engage with it. Uh, Practice a mock sales pitch. Even if it's about your favorite product, it builds confidence for interviewing. And think about what you have studied or done before. For example, someone with a science degree recently reached out to me, and they had also worked in the fitness industry. And I asked them if they had ever considered a sales role in pharma, medical device, or life sciences. So your background can open doors you might not have thought about.
I love that. Those are some really good things to think about to expand your horizon. So I know we've covered transferable skills, right? Some of the industries we've seen that are hiring, but I know what might be top of mind for a lot of people is where are the roles going to continue to be, right? So where do you see the biggest growth engines this year and maybe beyond?
Okay, so truth be told, in 2025, some of the hottest areas for sales, it's still in tech. Going to be completely honest with you. AI, definitely. When I think back to 2025, AI will be my top three three things that come to mind. Also, cybersecurity. In addition to that, healthcare, because that isn't going anywhere. Renewable energy, which was interesting for me to learn about. Of course, digital payments and also ed tech. So I know there are a lot of educators out there who are looking to pivot or transition out of the classroom. So I always tell teachers, think about ed tech. And of course, as we mentioned early on, let's not forget about telecommunications. Deloitte pointed out that there is big growth in AI, 5G, and expanded broadband. So, HR services and staffing are also staying strong, according to staffing industry analysis. And hospitality and business support companies like Cintas are solid bets. So all of these sectors are actively investing and looking for talented salespeople.
All right. Well, I appreciate the honesty. I know probably people aren't surprised to hear AI because it is fortunately or unfortunately everywhere, but it's good to know that yes, even though AI and tech is still, the main thing, there are all these other avenues that you mentioned, staffing, all the other industries we talked about with HR and telecommunications and hospitality. So you don't have to just settle for whatever comes into tech. So that's really, really great to know. And now I know, and we said this is live, we're doing it live because we want to hear from you guys. So you're probably thinking and wondering, how do you apply this to yourself? So if you haven't already, I haven't seen any questions just yet, but don't be shy. We don't bite, and we're not going to come after you. So do you guys have any specific questions about where you're at, your transition, or anything else that comes up? Put them in the chat
Yes.
and we'll answer them for you.
Questions. We would love some questions. While you think about that, um, just want to mention something. This is a tip from me to you. If you are interviewing for a sales position, a lot of you may already know this, and I would think it's sales interviewing 101, but you'd be surprised. So I will say this: make sure you are closing the recruiter and closing, especially the hiring manager, when you are interviewing for the role of your dreams or for the role that you need to take. So just wanted to add that. Um, I'm not seeing any questions. Uh, but you know, we can chit chat for a minute.
Yeah, I think to give another tip as well when in trying to transition into roles, um, speaking their language is going to be really, really important, right? Because when you come from, maybe B2C, right, to B2B, there's different language that's being used. And so getting familiarized with that specific target audience that you're going to be selling to and using their language in their interview, that language in the resume, it's going to make a difference, right? Some people, might say cold calling, other people might say like outbound outreach, right? There's nuances that are different between each industry and how they communicate, right? Some people say prospects, some people say buyers or clients, right? And so there's a nuance there as well in understanding that. So I recommend trying to learn those as well. And one of the best ways to do that is getting involved in communities and kind of like how Joy mentioned, networking, right? Because you'll hear those terms over and over again. If you're networking with the people that are in that industry, then you'll start to ask questions like, what the heck does, MPC mean? Which was one of the things I had to learn as a recruiter, right? Most placeable candidate, or what's ATS, right? Terms that are relevant to that role.
We do have some questions.
We just got some.
Angela wants to get into customer success, but she's only been in SDR. Angela, are we connected on LinkedIn? I'm going to introduce you to someone who is great, who was in SDR, I believe, for 2 years. And now this person is a successful customer success manager, and she is living her best life in this role. So I would love to introduce the two of you. So if we're not already connected, please connect with me on LinkedIn. Hey, Misty. Thanks for joining.
Cool.
So she's looking for something in the nonprofit sector. And Misty asked, how can I best position myself? Patty, you want to answer that?
Yes, great question. I think a lot of the stuff we talked about applies in regards to sales leadership. If you have been a sales leader, applying that to the nonprofit sector, really finding, I think, a company that you can connect deeply in their mission, and writing, when you're doing outreach, writing about your why and your mission as to how it relates to the nonprofit space. I think that would be a great way to stand out if you already have that leadership and sales experience. I know somebody who runs a nonprofit as well. So if you have more specific questions like that, I would be happy to connect you with him and have you ask away more specifically on breaking into the nonprofit sector as well. I actually started my sales career working at a nonprofit doing fundraising. So the skills are definitely transferable. It's just about showcasing that and the impact as well. So go ahead and DM me, Misty.
Angela, please DM me. You said that we are connected. So please DM me and I'll be happy to make that introduction. Any other questions before we move on? All right. So thank you for those questions. We appreciate it. We appreciate you joining. So let's see. I don't know. Are we almost at the end, Patty? I think we are.
Yeah, look at that. We are keeping right on track.
All right. So give me 1 second. Like I said, this is our first time doing this. Well, not our first LinkedIn Live, but okay. So this conversation proves that sales is bigger than just tech. I know all of you want to get into tech because you want to secure the bag, and I applaud you for that. But if you want to grow your career, don't limit yourself. Look at these industries as launch pads. Tech sales is great, but it's not the only way to build a fulfilling career.
Yes, I think if we want to leave you with anything today, is that sales is sales, right? The ability to communicate, to find pain points, to showcase opportunity, and position whatever it is that you are selling as the solution is transferable everywhere and is valuable not only for sales role, but for other adjacent roles as well. So your ability to connect, influence, and close is a demand across industries. So if you ever feel stuck, know that there are more options out there.
Awesome. You know what? I'm seeing a question from Jacqueline. How can I articulate potential and value as a first time AE who's only had one at bat in the role? My question is, how long have you been in the role? Because that's what I'd like to know. Um, I know this is what someone mentioned recently to me, a very successful account executive, and completely agree with this person. They said that really to show your worth and value in a role, you need to stay in that role for 3 years. And I strongly agree with that. Now, I know everything's not black and white. There are reasons sometimes, there are gray areas why someone might not be in a role for 3 to 4 years. But actually, this is a great segue into our businesses. So I'll let Patty.
Yeah. First off, great question, Jacqueline. If you've only had one at bat, and this goes for you or anybody else who maybe hasn't fit into the 3 years or hasn't been there long enough to say, "Hey, I have X amount of proven success," I always recommend transparency and talking about what it is that you have learned and what it is that maybe you were in that role for only a year and things changed and things happen. It could be that there was an early stage startup and it didn't have market fit, right? It has absolutely nothing to do with you. It could be leadership change. It could be personal things that occurred, right? And I think, having a level of transparency and using that as your superpower, right? Like I wasn't successful in this role or I didn't stay as long as this role and you're upfront about it, you're addressing it, you're showcasing what you learn, it shows that you're going to drive those sales conversations in that same way, right? Because sales is uncomfortable and it's asking the uncomfortable questions that makes great salespeople, right? Not addressing the elephant in the room. And if you show that from the very beginning, then I think you position yourself at a much higher caliber and chances for getting roles are going to be higher than if you're like, let's shy away from the fact that I've only done this once. And I've talked about this before with other people, but I coached AEs as in sales enablement, and I've never been an AE, right? It's all about positioning. And as Joy mentioned, it's a perfect segue into our businesses and what we do, which for me is I help SDRs and AEs land roles that align with their values and purpose and obviously pay. So if you're needing some help in that area, Jacqueline, on how to position yourself, we can definitely chat more about that. And for anybody else, that's what I focus on. And I'll pass it back to Joy for you.
Yeah, Jacqueline, one thing I'll say, confidence. Be be confident about those 6 months. Like, this is what I accomplished. This is what I did. Because you could say it in two ways. I only did this for 6 months. Oh, I did this for 6 whole months. So just wanted to add that. But yeah, thank you all for tuning in. This is the very first episode of Claim Your Next Chapter. We'll be back next month with another conversation to help you grow in your career. And if you or your company would like to sponsor a podcast, we are open to collaboration. Also, I think Patty's going to drop it in the chat where you can find us. I actually am launching my website this weekend, so stay tuned. I will be providing coaching for those who are interviewing. So, among other things. So, stay tuned. There are a few exciting things coming.
Well, thank you so much, everybody, for joining us. It has meant a lot that you joined us in this first one, and we hope to continue to see you coming for all of our future podcasts that we will be doing. Tell your friends, tell your family, bring yourself, and we are super, super excited. If you have any other questions, put them in the chat and we'll get to them after. But thank you so much for being here, and we will see you next month.
Happy Friday. Have a great weekend. See you next month.